Lesson 2 builds on what we practiced in Lesson 1, which was how do we convert between fractions, decimals, and percents. Lesson 2 is requiring us to use those skills so that we can compare and order these different types of rational numbers. So our objective today is to compare and order fractions, decimals, and percents. Here's an important note here. When comparing and ordering fractions, decimals, and percents, we want to write all the numbers as either all fractions, all decimals, or all percents. Basically, you want them in the same form. And we did this at the very beginning of the year when we did our human number line. And I didn't give you any instructions. We didn't have anything to go off of. But when we debriefed after you guys communicated with each other, we found that almost everybody, changed their rational number to a percent. I think that's a fantastic idea. Decimals is also a good one, but a lot of people make mistakes with decimals because they get confused that maybe a shorter decimal, only to the tenths place, is smaller than a decimal that's to the hundredths place or 2 numbers behind the decimal. And that's not always the case. But more often than not, you are accurate when you're converting to percents. Either one's fine, but most people don't like to compare fractions because you have to have common denominators when you're comparing those fractions, and that can get tedious. So here's example 1. I am asking you which one is greater. So 3/20 or 16%. Which one's greater? I already have one of these rational numbers in percent form. My goal would be to convert 3/20 into a percent. So I really kind of need to think about it as what would it be over 100 since percent is out of 100. I know that 20 is compatible with 100 because it goes into it evenly. So I can use my mental math method. I know that 20 times 5 is 100. So 3 times 5 will give me 15. That means that 3/20 is the same as 15%. When I write it that way, then I realize 16% is a greater rational number. All right, I'm going to give you another one to look at. Which one's greater, 79% or 8%? Work this out on your paper and answer the question. Example 2 is a real-life application. You, your sister, and a friend each take the same number of shots at a soccer goal. You make 72% of your shots. Way to go. So you make 72% of your shots. Your sister makes 19 out of 25 of her shots. And your friend makes 67 hundredths of his shots. We're looking to see who made the fewest. Instead of bragging rights here, we're looking for who needs to practice a little bit more. Well, I have here in this problem, I have a percentage, I have a ratio or a fraction, and a decimal. By looking at these, I can't really tell you who made more than the other person. But by converting them all to the same form, we can make a better decision. Now, let's, for giggles, I know in example 1, we talked about putting them into percents because people are more accurate with that. Well, this time, let's step out of our comfort zone a little bit and do decimals just so that you can see it. All right, so here we have you makes 72%. We need to write that as a decimal. So 72%. Remember, we remove that percent sign and we take the decimal that's invisible at the end of that whole percentage and move it to the left 2 times. So that would be 72 hundredths. And your sister makes 19 25ths of her shot, or 19 out of 25. It means she only misses 6. That's not bad. Now you gotta, all decimals are out of tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So let's go ahead and write this out of 100. So times 4, and I get 76 out of 100, which is 76 hundredths. Now, if you can't remember to do that, it's not a problem. Remember, a fraction is a fancy schmancy division problem. So 25 is going to go on the outside, 19 is going to go on the inside with a decimal point at the end. 25 does not go on into 19. So we'll have 19, and we're going to drop a 0 down. 25 goes into 190 7 times. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 3 is 100. So 7 times 25 is 175. Subtract that, and I get 150 because I have to borrow over here. Drop down that 0. 25 goes into 150 6 times. 6 times 5 is 30. Carry the 3. 6 times 2 plus 3 is 15. So I have a remainder of 0. I know that I did that one correct. But for space purposes, don't erase it on your workspace, but I need space down here. I'm going to erase this. And then the friend makes 67 hundredths of their shots. To compare and order these decimals, we're going to order them and place them on the number line. And I also like to think about it as money. If you see something written like this, and it's talking about money, this is 72 cents. This one's 76 cents. This one is 67 cents. And remember, we're trying to find the fewest. But on this number line, I'm going to go ahead and order it. This would be 66 hundredths, 68 hundredths, 70 hundredths, 72 hundredths, 74 hundredths, and 76 hundredths. So I'm kind of skipping up by 2 hundredths or 2 pennies every time, just because I don't have room to squeeze in that odd amount. If I'm graphing from U, would be 72 hundredths. So there's going to be a dot right here on the number line. That's U. And then sister had 76 hundredths, which is way over here. She made the most, it looks like, so sister. And then friend. Friend made 67 hundredths, so it's going to be halfway in between 66 hundredths and 67 hundredths. So friend. The person who made the fewest shots would be the friend. So friend needs to practice more. Made the fewest shots. Okay, that does it for today's video.